A very good morning from Motorland Aragon with the second official day, or I suppose third day when you include one of the two of the free practice sessions earlier on in the week, of the ACO rules meeting here, just about 90 minutes from Zaragoza and a 3-hour drive from Barcelona to the east of the track. And we are about to go racing for the latest heat, as it is coined, for the Ligier European Series. Heat 1 took place at Barcelona, just up the road, in fact, back in April. There was then a one-off race, which was Heat 2 at the Le Mans 24 Hours the week before, the preceding Sunday, and then 2 races at Paul Ricard, which formed Heat 3. So this is Heat 4 at Motorland Aragon. Bernardo Pinheiro, the Portuguese, will start from pole position after his time at 2:02.004. Minea Stefan going so well in the championship. He tops the charts, in fact, second position. Then it's Dimitri Engelbert and Julien Schell in their Pegasus racing cars, one of those a Pro-Am entry. Monza Garage for Ray Yu Wang will start from 5th position, alongside Georgios Kolovos for HP Racing by Monza Garage. Louis Rossi for Le Douce Arb and Haytham Caragiuli are next up, then Lance Fenton for Team Virage, and the pole sitter in JS2 R is Julien Lemoine for ANS Motorsport alongside Max Meyer, who is solo driving this weekend, RLRM Sport. Pegasus Racing, Jordan Meyer is in the 29 car ahead of David Rodrigo, and then at the back of the field for Jacques Nicolet, it is the Le Douce Arb car, which did not qualify in either of the sessions. The 86 machine having problems. Let's hope that it is out on the circuit for this formation lap. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm joined by Graham Goodwin, who's the editor of dailysportscar.com. We had a good, decent day yesterday with the sort of rung above this in the ACO rules ladder, which is the Michelin Le Mans Cup. But great to have some Ligiers. After 2 of their drivers that did so well in last year's championship, Julien Henrion and Cedric Ultramar, performed well in yesterday's Michelin Le Mans Cup. We get to see the future stars, potentially, of Le Mans Cup, of European Le Mans Series, and maybe even the World Endurance Championship in this category of racing, Graham.
We do indeed. Welcome to Motorland Aragon, and a blessed relief from the baking heat we've had all week. It's easily 10 degrees cooler today than it has been for the remainder of this week, and that is something of a relief, I suspect, to ladies and gentlemen who are wearing these race suits on pit lane, as well as the heroes out on track. Absolutely right. Great stuff yesterday from Julien Henrion and Cedric Ultramar, right up at the sharp end of what was a engrossing Michelin Le Mans Cup race. Just an update, I cannot see that a disarmed car there, so I suspect we have not got that car to start this race. Great to see as well these cars at a new circuit for them, as it has been for the Michelin Le Mans Cup and will be later for the European Le Mans Series. It's been a while since we've been to a brand new track, and that's all to the good. Down they come down this astonishing main straight, Johnny. Not taking, apologies, they do take the left turn used for high-speed testing, but when we get into the race, they'll carry on at this point down to a hairpin bend. But at this point, it makes no sense to do that, just bottles up the field rather than getting a good exit for what is going to be the run down to the start of this race. The Porsche Taycan pulls off. Johnny Palmer, we're about to get underway.
So Bernardo Pinheiro, who set the time yesterday, he therefore has to start the race, and the same goes for all the other cars. A chance for the co-drivers later in the day to take the race start instead. And the 2 Team Virage cars, similar livery as we see in the other championships, with the yellow nose, the black rear, worked their way through turn 1 with success. However, going out very, very wide there was that the Monza Garage car, perhaps? No, it was someone, it was the RLR, Haytham Caragiuli car, I think, losing a bit of ground. Anyway, they all managed to stay on the black stuff for the first few corners. Pegasus Racing running 3rd and 4th for Dimitri Engelbert and Julien Schell. And in the early stages, JS2 R being led by Max Meyer in the number 10 RLRM Sport car. So working their way through. Relatively speaking, it is a cool morning, so you have to be careful with the tyre temperature in the first few corners, not to push too hard, because it would be very, very easy to lose the car down into the corkscrew. A cracking overtake there from Dimitri Engelbert, and there's number 17 to pick off Minea Stefan in the 48. Stefan, the Romanian driver, having no reply to that great move early on.
Yeah, that's the French version of a Stuka. That was a real dive bomb there. Great stuff as well, by the way, from the rear of the grid, making his way through the JS2 Rs at the moment is It is the number 7 car, Simone Riccitelli. We'll soon see, I'm sure, the number 7 car, the orange and grey car, joining the train of the JS P4s.
So Miner Stefan, I think, will have the speed actually to stay with Dimitri Engelbert and possibly to reverse those positions, or at least have a go at it. But the difficult spot now is sitting in between the two Pegasus racing cars. So Julien Schell will be desperate to make it a 2-3 for Pegasus Racing in the Pro-Am car. It is Julien Schell who currently leads Pro-Am within JS P4. And the AM category has the HP Racing by Monza Garage car up front as well. Oh, there's a bit of touching there coming out of turn 16, the tight hairpin at the end of the lap. And that was Miner Stefan, slightly better on the brakes compared to Dimitri Engelbert, but wasn't able to get ahead of the Frenchman.
We saw a great big tussle getting away here, Johnny. Bernardo Pinheiro has pulled out a 1.6 second lead after that first lap and is under no real pressure. Simone Riccitelli, meanwhile, not content with passing the JS2 Rs, is now dealing with traffic by way of the third of the Team Virage cars. He goes by Lance Fenton and is pulling away. So this pack of 3 is now becoming 4, because the two Pegasus cars, the Team Virage car, being joined by Wang Weiyu. In the Monza Garage machine, the number 11 car, there you go, the white, blue and red car. He's pulling ever closer to the rear of Julien Schell. Julien Schell somewhat bottled up here.
The good news is, by the way, the 86 car did take the start of the race. Jacques Nicolet circulating in the Le Deuce Ab car. 3 of the entries in GS2R come from the AM class, and this is a cracking battle between the two GT-derived cars. Number 43, the LR Motorsport car, no, 42, sorry, ANS Motorsport, with Julien Le Mans battling away there, with Jordan Meyer in the Pegasus Racing 29, but Bernardo Pinheiro continues to lead. And the other great thing to observe at the moment is Simone Riccitelli's run through the order. He's now on the back of Louis Rossi's number 50 Le Deuce Ab car. However, 29 is the Pegasus entry for Jordan Meyer. So has that automatically put Julien Le Mans in front? Yes, it has. Le Mans just following through there on the corkscrew. And was there contact in the second portion of the corner? Yeah, and then some. And that's what's caused the 29 car to then stop a few metres later, by the looks of things.
Just pulled to a halt. There's some sparks in the rear of the car.
They look like shards of something.
Yeah.
So something not running well at all, perhaps, in the innards of that car. Sparking shards of metal through the exhaust, never a good sign. I'd be surprised if Jordan Meyer's car runs again.
Bernardo Pinheiro, by the way, fastest lap of the race so far for that car, 2:04.844, 1.7 seconds to the good. Still pulling away, but just in 5ths and 10ths.
And second position in JS2R, led by David Rodrigo for LR Motorsport, from Julien Le Mans, who had just got by the stricken Jordan Meyer. It's the other Meyer with an M-A-Y rather than M-E-Y for Max Meyer, and the RLR M Sport car that comfortably leads the JS2Rs by 7 seconds or so.
42 car pushing on, pushing hard, and that was a move for position. Goes up to second, Julien Le Mans. And can he do something about that lead battle? Meanwhile, Simone Riccitelli has gone by the next target, Louis Rossi. His next of the order is going to be Georgios Kolovas, and that will be a battle if and when that happens for 7th position. So a developing story there for the fast recovering from a lowly start LR Motorsport car.
So a couple of moments ago, the 42 down the inside of David Rodrigo to pick off for second position the LR Motorsport car. ANS Motorsport and Julien Le Mans up to second place in the number 42 car. I mentioned I'd be surprised if Jordan Meyer kept going in the Pegasus racing car. Well, folks, this is my very surprised face, because the 29 car is moving again, thankfully. And now all sorts of tyre smoke and maybe a touch as well into turn 16, which puts the second Pegasus racing car, Julien Shell now ahead of Manaea Stefan. So Stefan, who's been the dominant entity so far this year in the number 48 car, is struggling with the speed of both the Pegasus racing cars. I don't know how experienced Manaea Stefan is around this Aragon circuit, but he cannot get that 48 car quite to the speed of the blue and white machines. Has lost 2 places from where he started.
Hugely experienced, Julien. And if you're looking for one of these drivers with experience on their CVs to get stuck in at this point, you can be sure of Shell.
See what he did there. And Shell then now having to defend from a truly revved up Manaea Stefan. He won't be enjoying this too much at all. Long way back there, and then a big lock-up. Did he avoid contact
I think
with Manaea
he did.
Stefan? Yeah,
I think there was a gaping hole. He filled it and then just put the car where the Virage car needed to be.
Down the hill into the corkscrew. Manaea Stefan way too hot.
That was a bit more forceful.
And Julian Shell given no option but to run off the track with the Romanian, and they now have Ryu Wang for company because the Monza Garage car, number 11, is stacking up in this queue here. So the fight for 3rd, 4th and 5th as Shell goes to the inside again. So Stefan's got in front because of that wayward overtake. They run absolutely side by side through turn 12, and he gets the move done, Manaea Stefan that is, into 13.
There's going to be dramas of a rather more meaningful manner for 2 of the cars. Car number 7, that is Simone Riccitelli, and car 75, that is Haytham Caragiuli. Those 2 cars currently running in 6th and 8th will be getting drive-through penalties for overtaking before the start line. So the dramatic start from Simone Riccitelli has been adjudged not to be a fair one at the early times. And look at this from Julian Shell. He's again put the car exactly where the 48 needs to be to take the apex. Beautifully done there. But has he compromised his exit? I think he's covered it beautifully.
He certainly did not allow Manaea Stefan to get ahead at turn 17. It's a very high-speed S-bend immediately after that tight chicane. And Manaea Stefan again wanting to right the wrongs as soon as he can. He all over the rear of the number 16 of Julian Shell. Maybe thought about the move on the inside, then to the outside, trying to sow the seed of doubt into Julian Shell's mind. And Wang Ryu could be very well placed here to, if there is carnage in front, to pick up the pieces. Here are the 2 drivers that need to serve penalties. It's the 7 of Simone Riccitelli and the 75 of Haytham Caragiuli.
But interestingly, with Riccitelli ahead of Haytham Caragiuli, that must have happened just before they came down pit lane. So that must mean that Riccitelli, before the the penalty, had passed Georgios Kovalovas as well.
This was the Manaea Stefan manoeuvre at the corkscrew.
That one, I think, was a little bit much. The one before from Julian Shell, I thought, was just about picture perfect.
Yes, it was. What Manaea Stefan will defend his case by is to say, well, I didn't actually entirely leave the track when turning right, but he didn't actually give Julian Shell anywhere to go.
This one pretty masterful, I thought, from Julian Shell. The Team Virage man gave him the room, he took all the room, and the room he was particularly looking for was to be the first car to the apex. Did that, didn't allow his competitor to turn in, and did much the same again at the end of the lap.
Well, that one at 16, it was better from Julian Shell than his previous attempt, which was fully locked up, although still minus contact, but slightly more controlled overtake into turn 16. There's now going to be 5 seconds added to the next pit stop for car 42, Julien Le Mans, for his part in the collision with car 29, Jordan Meyer, which left Jordan stuck in the middle of the track briefly at the top of the hill. Yeah, that 42 car is not catching the leader either, so at the moment, with that 5 seconds, we've still got 50 minutes to go, but with that 5 seconds would cost him a position at the end of the race, so he's got work to do here. And now Jordan Meyer having ground to a halt, obviously lost all the places in JS2R, but should be able to pick off Jacques Nicolet to give him back 4th position and 2nd in class. Down into the left-hander at turn 12, that tricky approach because you're still trying to turn the car, and also slightly off-camber approach as well to that left-hander. Get the car over to the other side of the track to negotiate turns 13 and 14, both right-handers. But now the 29 car back into 4th position, and Jordan Meyer can set the crosshair on the rear of David Rodrigo's car. The problem for him is that the LR Motorsport car is a good 14-odd seconds further up the road. But we're looking from Jordan Meyer's point of view, he's 30 seconds off the lead with
49 minutes to go. There's time if he's got the pace in the car. Does look, by the way, as if all is not well with that number 86 Ligier for Jacques Nicolet. Does not appear to have the pace that we'd expect from the man behind the revival and the continuation of this Ligier name. Now with steps on the ladder of every aspect of international sports car racing. He's led the JS P4s and JS2 Rs, the JS P320 and LMP3, the JS P217 in LMP2. There's one of those cars will be racing in the ELMS WeatherTech Sports Car Championship next year. And now hitting the track for the first time in its first test, the Hypercar and GTP, the Lamborghini SC63 with a Ligier chassis. So proud days for this very proud French company. Bit of a lock-up there by Pinheiro in the lead of the race, but he's almost 4 seconds to the good. Lock-up 2 there from Julien Schellen. Is that going to compromise him at the end of this lap? Miguel Stefan has not given this one up.
Certainly not. Well, we know through the course of the year that he's been very fast at most places that we've visited. He started this round on 108 points after the previous events. Bernardo Pinheiro and George King, who share a car, are second in the championship on 72, and then a further 13 points back, Kevin Madsen and Lance Fenton, who have raced with LR Motorsport previously. Team Virage, though, and Bernardo Pinheiro, the Portuguese driver. Portugal, lock up again for Julien Schell. That was turning left then through the early part of the lap.
By the way, just a quick shot of Simone Riccitelli. He rejoined in 9th position, has just taken that position from Lance Fenton for the second time of the race after that drive-through. Hayden Caragiuli also closing in on the American. This is the battle that's been raging from the very start, Johnny.
Yes, and they've both had a go at being in front of one another, and an impression of how much pressure is being forced onto Julien Schell's shoulders there. Definitely feeling the presence of Miguel Stefan, and just desperately trying to get in front of him. In fact, gap the car behind so that he can stop firmly. Firmly put himself into 3rd position ahead of Miguel Stefan, but that's going to take a few more laps because Stefan is finding the time here and there and working out where his 48 machine is a little quicker in certain places. The best opportunity has got to be coming through the left-hander at turn 15 because you pick up a bit of a toe as well, even though these cars are aero-dependent, so you're going to be in some dirty air, but definitely there is a benefit with a car immediately in front of you to gain those extra kilometres per hour, which is what Miguel Stefan is getting at the moment to the outside. Can he pull off an overtake that we haven't quite seen yet? Is it done? The next corner's a right-hander, which is turn 17, and yes, fantastic manoeuvre. So having been overtaken twice himself by Julien Schell on the inside of turn 16, he shows Schell that it is in fact a 2-line corner and gets back in a 3rd position.
One of the things about coming here for the first time to Motorland Aragon is it's a leveller. We've got drivers with more experience in this field. Julien Schell is one of them. But when you've got somebody with talent coming into a field like this, sometimes what they need to show that is a bit of a leveller. Julien, I'm not sure, will have raced here before. And whereas most of the circuits will have visited for the Ligier European Series in past seasons, will be familiar ground to him from his adventures in LMP3 and LMP2. All of a sudden, there's no data, not on the laptop there, and not in the grey stuff.
Yeah, true. And yeah, it's all about a learning process through the sessions that these cars have had already this weekend, but they don't get quite as much time as, for instance, the European Le Mans Series may do. They had a free practice session yesterday, which was 40 minutes, a further 40-minute second free practice session, and then you're straight into qualifying, 2 doses of it, 15 minutes each. But it is most of these, well, some of these cars have 2 drivers, and if you've got 2 drivers, one driver takes part in qualifying 1, the other driver takes part in qualifying 2. If you're Miguel Stefan, or indeed Julien Lemoine, Max Meyer, etc., then you do all of the track time as solo entries.
The other thing to bear in mind is the differential that comes in with the pit stop penalties, and We look at the number 42 car now of Julien Le Mans. Remember, he's carrying, and the trouble again with the 29 car. This was, oddly enough, the car that was involved in an incident with the 42. I was about to describe the penalty that's coming the way of the 42 with 5 seconds to be added to the pit stop. But that pit stop penalty, and I think we might get an intervention here unless that car can be refired.
It's in an awkward position.
It is.
And, yeah, generally, it's a safety car in these races rather than a full course yellow.
Well, the other thing, it comes over a crest and you've got a number of cars in close contention, and we've seen too many times, haven't we, in motorsport, Johnny, car pulling out as the 04 does there because they can't see the track ahead, and unfortunately if you've got a car stopped and, you know, 29 pulled right over the left-hand side, but it's all too easy to see how a serious accident could happen. It may look pretty benign from that shot, but it looks significantly less benign if you're approaching it at 140 miles an hour. Yeah,
agreed. Just getting word that it's a green flag everywhere, though, now, so maybe the car has got going again of Jordan Meyer. Still being shown as stopped on the circuit,
he's
but
moving.
We definitely have a green flag.
He's in Sector 1, approaching Sector 2 now.
Fine. OK, so that should avoid any caution. Simone Riccitelli, having taken that drive-through penalty, is again lighting up the timing screen. He's just done a 2:02.5, which is the fastest lap of the race so far. And the LR Motorsport car, even though it's down in 8th place, if it was much further up, would definitely be worrying the leaders.
This is a change, by the way, for 5th place. Switch between the HP Racing by Monza Garage and the Monza Garage entered cars. The 04 of Georgios Golovas now ahead of Wang Reiyu. So pace has just dropped off there for the number 11. Circling back round to the point before we had the marginal interruption of the 29, because Max Meyer is driving solo, he will be getting a longer pit stop. So yes, he needs to extend this gap. He is doing so, by the way, doing so impressively well. He's, what is he, 18 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, the 42 car. So number 10 car in good shape here, but there will be work still to do.
There's also the element, which was rather frying my brain yesterday, of he normally races with Simon Butler,
he does,
the racing reverend. They are entered into the championship as a Pro-Am. Unfortunately, he can't score Pro-Am points today, though, because he is a silver and only a silver. So effectively, the points that Simon and he have accumulated will stay as they are, and he will continue to score overall points. But it's not really doing either the combination or the solo Max Meyer any favours, championship-wise, moving across for this particular round.
Yeah, Simon Butler missing this one. I'm sure on ecclesiastical duties. He is the racing reverend, of course.
Yeah, but weirdly, this race meeting doesn't actually... it's not been taking place on a Sunday, so he could have got back.
The Lord
Saturday
works
night.
In mysterious ways, Johnny.
So I've heard,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it doesn't take Saturdays off.
No, that's right. I believe being a reverend is a 7-day-a-week job.
24/7.
Indeed.
24/7.
But, you know...
The 5th emergency service.
It's a meeting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You would have thought it was perfect for Simon to do his major duties on the big day of the week. Minea Stefan, Julien Schell still cannot be separated. They head into the blurry distance there, and surely it's not starting to rain. That must be just a load of garbage on the windscreen of Minea Stefan that he's wanting to clear away.
Getting a warning for track limits now, Minea Stefan. It's under real pressure, as he has been from the very start from Julien Schell. It's been cracking to watch this little battle.
And there are a couple of cars up ahead that may be about to cause one or two problems, because that's lapped traffic, is it not? That they will need to overtake pretty soon.
Must be.
It is. It's Farid Ali in the number 14 car, at least. And I reckon Dimitri Engelbert has just cleared Farid Ali to put that number 14 car a lap down. Here's Simone Riccitelli, still the fastest car out there. Yes, he is, at 2:02.521. And again, right on the boot lid of Louis Rossi, getting a sense of deja vu here, because the track is declared wet.
They switched.
My word, yes, they have. But Julien Schell now ahead of Minea Stefan. Track declared wet, folks. Oh, I mentioned there may be some rain tomorrow as they're side by side again. What's the grip level like down at the first corner? Minea Stefan had his windscreen wiper on a few moments ago. I honestly thought that was down to debris or a bit of dust on the the windscreen, but there's clearly some moisture in the air, and that, if it gets any worse, is not going to help these cars that are all running on slick tyres. Who would have thought it?
Well, we know we've got possible rain as the ELMS race this evening, and do watch that live and free with Johnny and I and Steph Wentworth on pit lane later this evening, 6 o'clock local until 10 p.m, and we might well get some rain as the race moves into night time. That could add some spice, couldn't it? But yeah, that absolutely did not seem likely as we potted across here to our commentary booth.
There was a bit of moisture on the side of our rental car this morning, but I think that was down to street cleaning rather than rain.
It was the same move.
He's done it before. He's done it twice before, in fact, and that's another great... Oh, but then there was a slight moment behind Farid Ali. I did mention the slower traffic perhaps posing these two a problem, and that concertinaed them back up again, and it meant that Julien Schell couldn't get on the loud pedal as early as he would have wished. I
think that was Julien Schell using his experience. The wipers are on again, by the way. Using his experience, expecting that the less experienced driver would be just tippy-toeing a little as he approached much slower traffic and looking for the best way through, and in doing so gave the opportunity. But he's weaving along behind here. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen this overtake. Coming alongside as they come down the main straight, traffic again. Is he going to make it here? I think he is, Johnny. He's got a car that is faster in a straight line.
Yeah. But also, because these drivers are still getting used to the track, some have a good exit out of 15, whereas a rival may not, and that is amplified really by the time you've pulled through the gears and gone a further kilometre down the road. The straight between turn 15 and 16 as Miner Stefan runs completely off the road there to clear the slower JS2R.
That might be something that attracts attention, an overtake off the track.
Even though it was lappery, still counts as an overtake, putting the JS2R a lap down in comparison to the third place overall battle, the third place scrap in JS P4. Windscreen wipers on full setting for Jordan Meyer in the Pegasus Racing 29.
And this is Haytham Karagiuli, by the way, in the white and orange and dark grey car, looking to get onto terms with Lance Fenton, but with the 29 car in between them. Meantime, further up the road, Simone Riccatelli has gone by Louis Rossi, so he's back up to 7th. After that penalty, the drive-through penalty for overtaking before the green light. There you go. Yesterday it was all about, well, parasols, we would say.
Yes.
This time it's definitely a brolly.
Indeed. Protection from the rain rather than the sun's rays. We are expecting the sun, though, to be out for a sustained period again today. Ambient temperature still rather warm, so it's certainly not affecting, although more comfortable, 26 degrees Celsius currently. The track temperature's beneath that slightly. But the day is still young at the moment, 20 past 9, just gone. So the heat will slowly build and maybe take the rain clouds away. But there is scope, as you've mentioned, for rain in the 4 hours of Aragon later today for the European Le Mans Series. Turns 12 and 13, right at the base of that huge brick wall, which is synonymous with Motorland Aragon. And the windscreen wipers still on for Miner Stefan, who's now in a clear third position. So where has Julien Schell got to?
Oh.
Julien Schell's dropped away by 1.2 seconds by the looks of things.
More than 1.2 seconds.
It is now, isn't it? The last split.
Sorry, that's Bernardo Pinheiro.
There we are. Thank you.
Yeah.
That definitely explains it. Team Virage painting their cars in a very similar fashion, although the pink door mirrors give Miner Stefan away.
Riccatelli now, amongst the two Monza garage entered cars, has dealt with the 11 very quickly. Wang Ryu, now Georgios Kolovas has got his mirrors full of the orange and grey car. This is going to be for 5th position. But then there's a big gap before we get into the teams in podium contention at the moment. Up the inside, there's no room there. Forceful defence from the 04 car.
So Georgios Kolovas in the HB Racing by Monza garage car having a good fight with Simone Riccitelli. Not looking good here for Ligier Stefan, who's now been reported to the stewards for abusing track limits, and I would imagine that is pulling off the lappery round the outside but off the track on the start-finish line. We are about a minute away from the pit window effectively opening. 27 minutes is the moment that happens. We've just ticked over 26 minutes being completed in the race.
Now look at Riccitelli looking to use the traffic, but it's not going to work for him quite there. Bit of a lunge to make the move and keep the gap as small as it currently is. He's done that effectively. Oh, and a big wiggle there, and that's going to be enough, I'm sure, for the number 7 car it is to immediately take advantage. 0-4 stumbles, loses the place. Riccitelli for the second time in this race up to 5th.
Yeah, a huge squirm from the rear of Kolovos's car there.
He's got a broken windscreen wiper.
He did well to control it. But the broken windscreen wiper in this amount of rainfall is possibly not a huge issue, unless, of course, the rain gets more steady, more sustained. But I noticed that most of the cars now are using their windscreen wipers for visibility purposes, obviously. Max Meyer is in, so no, I don't think the window's officially open yet. It is now. Pit window is open, but surely Max Meyer came in a touch too early there. I don't think the pit window is now open message was displayed on the screen at the point he hit the pit lane, but I'm prepared to be corrected on that. But the Spaniard, Max Meyer, is in, and this pit stop now taking place. No driver change, of course, for Aragon Motorsport because Simon Butler's not here, so Max will do the second stint as well.
Ligier Stefan on pit lane as well, as is the number 43 LR Motorsport JS2 R behind of David Rodrigo. Also, Georgios Kolovos has joined on pit lane with Louis Rossi. So this, the overtake completely off track. He'd already had a warning for track limits.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was all she wrote on that one. Oh, that spin for the number 1 car. There was already a bit of problem coming into that turn from Haytham Caragiuli behind, who had a bit of a moment, and a bigger moment, trying to avoid the spinning Virage car.
So that was Lance Fenton in the number 1 car, losing the rear end. Very easily done that. I took a moment, well, about half an hour actually, last night during evening practice for the European Le Mans Series cars to sit in the grandstand that you can see there and watch the cars approach at great speed into turn 1. Then you hit the anchors and turn violently left. It's a 90-degree left-hander, which was being shortcut by most of the cars, actually. There's a bit of curb, then maybe 2 meters width of green painted concrete, and the GTE cars in ELMS were right over that and up against the barrier pretty much.
We're going to miss them.
It was glorious stuff. It was glorious stuff, and took me right back to spectating at Le Mans earlier this year in the evening. That session ran till 10 o'clock last night in full darkness.
So cars on pit lane, cars still out on track. Still Bernardo Pinheiro leads the race. 5 seconds to good now from Dimitri and Gilbert. And its lap times have gone way up with what is clearly moisture on track. About 5 seconds slower a lap at this point. Switch for position.
Ligier Stefan to the inside of Ruiyu Wang. So that's after Minnea's drive-through penalty. He took 27 seconds to do that. We've had other cars doing drive-throughs as well in and around. So Simone Riccitelli we knew about, and Haytham Caragiuli came in as well. So they've all been delayed because of those penalties and yet still feature in the top 7 positions overall. And here's the 42 Julien Lemoine car. Now, ANS Motorsport absolutely in the window. The question mark for me is what was Max Meyer doing, or what were Aragon Motorsport doing, unless they know something additional that I don't. But, I mean, 27 minutes is always the time that the pit stop opens, and I reckon 26 and a half, maybe 26 and 40 was the point that Max Meyer hit pit lane.
Well, I'm sure they'll be all over that. In comes the number 48 car for its full pit stop rather than the drive-through. Still waiting for the top 3 cars, which is the number 60 car of Bernardo Pinheiro, that 5.5 second lead, and both the Pegasus Racing cars, Dimitri and Gilbert, and Julien Schell is a further 2.7 seconds back. So the top 3, 8.3 seconds before the pit stops. Amongst the cars that have gone in and out, number 4 from HP Racing by Monza Garage is out, back on track again. Steve Zakia has rejoined the number 50 Ligier European 9th position. Jacques Nicolet yet to pit, and now leads JS2 R for the moment. Lance Fenton. Well, Lance Fenton's still shown as being aboard that car.
Yes, and has done the pit stop to head over to Kevin Madsen, so that may be just a driver ID problem that needs to be rectified in the first few laps of this stint.
Max Meyer just had a moment, I think he has.
So Max, fluid pouring from the car though, so has he gone off on his own fluid there?
That was not rain, was it?
Definitely not. There was way too much water. I don't think it was water. It was possibly some coolant coming out of the side of the car.
That does not
or
bode
unburned
well.
fuel, perhaps. These cars are not fueled during their stop, though, so that wouldn't really explain, you know, if it was overfill, then fair enough, but the cars aren't getting fueled.
Halfway through the race?
No, that's not the case, but it was definitely leaking out of the right-hand side sill of the car. And it did appear that, therefore, the car went off on its own fluids and spun around. Max Meyer running again and has just gone through sector 1.
Keep an eye on that. But that
cost him about 8 seconds.
Did not look great, did it?
Julien Schell has not pitted yet. Bernardo Pinheiro is in the pit lane now. So Julien Schell leads the race by a comfortable margin, but owes us the stop. Here is Bernardo Pinheiro's car, the number 60, and it'll be handed over to George King for the second half of this race.
Yeah, looking good for the number 60 car. And also, by the way, pit lane, Dimitri Jobert and Simone Riccitelli. And Riccitelli pitting from 4th after another fight back. Fought back from a lowly grid spot and fought back again after incurring a drive-through penalty for overtaking before the effective race start.
Yeah.
The car's looking to be tippy-toeing a little bit more now. It doesn't look wet in any way.
It might be tricky when you go slightly offline, which is exactly what the Pegasus racing car needed to do there as it got towards the back of Julien Le Mans.
Max Meyer's back in the pits.
Yeah.
That's
and are they going to be checking the right-hand side of that car as it comes to a halt? Well, this, as long as they do a long stop here as well, then that will cover off any potential for not doing their stop in the correct window. But I think there are greater problems at the moment for RLRM Sport. The fact that that car spun around. The door is open on the left-hand side now of Max's car, and mechanics and engineers checking every corner of it. Away goes George King in the number 60 car. George and his teammate Bernardo Pinheiro have not won a race so far this year, but are in a great position to do so in the number 60 machine.
Julien Schell brings in the number 16 car from the lead. Late pitter. Pit stop for Julien. Out he gets. 11 car clattering across the curbs, and the 1 car doing much the same, but almost losing the rear end there. What we believe is not Lance Fenton anymore.
Kevin Madsen should be.
Kevin Madsen.
That's assuming that Lance Fenton did take the start, of course, and it wasn't wrong for the whole of the opening stint. Let's just check for this race at Aragon. Starting driver should have been Lance Fenton. Yeah, so it should be Kevin now, for Kevin Madsen.
It clearly is slippy out there.
Yeah. And
now we can see where the big raindrops, aren't they?
There are groove tyres obviously being prepared. I'd be interested to know if anyone's switched over. This is the problem for Max Meyer, and the engine cover off the car, clearly something leaking. There is definitely smoke issuing from the block, and that might explain all that fluid pouring out the right-hand side. So no longer is the worry that they might have pitted slightly outside of the window. Is that car even going to be in a fit state to take part in the second race today, which is a few hours from now? From memory, I think it's a 2 o'clock start for the second race here at Aragon, so be sure to join us for that. It is a 2 o'clock start through to exactly 3. These days, these races run to an hour rather than bolting on an extra lap at the end as well, which is something we did last year. Sideways again, this time for the 86 of Bastien Ostien, who took over that car in the pit stop.
Almost in a straight line, the same point as well with the number 7 car. So it's clearly slippy.
I think particularly if you get on a white line or a curb now as well, those painted surfaces are going to be like ice because of, I mean, it's not a huge amount of rainfall, but it is steady and consistent rain, so it has made certain parts of the circuit very dicey indeed.
Well, this is interesting. Coming past the pit lane is the number 60 car. Coming out of pit lane is the 40, is the 16. And Yuki Tanaka will lead this race with George King attempting to get onto terms. Different pit stop times for these two cars. 2:11 for the Pegasus car, 2:22 for the chasing Team Virage car. 16 and 60. There's the 16. Where is the 60? It's about 10 seconds back, Johnny. 23 minutes for George King to address this. He'll be pushing as hard as he feels he can in these conditions.
Yeah. Well, the difference between how Pegasus have played this and the number 60 Team Virage is that Yuki Tanaka is the bronze. They started with Julien Scheld, who's theoretically the stronger driver, the more consistent and generally quicker driver. And now it's down to George King in car number 60. He's silver, like his teammate Bernardo Pinheiro. That's the reason why, as you've explained, the 60 car needed to spend a bit longer on pit road. Silver, longer in the pits than a bronze-silver combination. Yuki Tanaka won't be quite as quick as George King, I wouldn't have thought, but he's still got to thread his way through safely.
This is for position. The 48 car does very well as the 43. Another one that struggled over the curbs. 48 just bounced the 50 there. So, and there's Stefan past the experienced Steve Zacchia in what looked like increasingly tricky conditions here, Johnny.
Yeah, agreed. So Louis Rossi out of the 50 car. He's the bronze. Steve Zacchia, as you say, mightily experienced and silver rated, climbing on board the number 50 car and just being overtaken by Minea Stefan, who did not leave the 48 car. He is always down as a solo driver in the 48, as he has been all season. No doubt thinking about the championship, though, as well. 108 points to his name versus his nearest rivals, Bernardo Pinheiro and George King. But Minea Stefan will not be enjoying the fact that his fellow Team Virage teammates are at the moment out-positioning him, and George King could be on for a race win. He's got 5.5 seconds to find on Yuki Tanaka.
But he found 5.5 seconds on the last lap.
It's down to 3.3 now.
So he is reeling in the race leader now, and if we see a wider shot, you're not going to have to look far, and another lock up there for the 16. It's got off the track. So that's going to be where a couple of those seconds went.
That rather does explain why 5.6 seconds were gained on a single lap.
I think that was the 3 seconds. I think that was turn one. I think that was where the further 2 seconds went.
Well, yeah, in a single sector, a further 1.3 have been lost by Yuki Tanaka. Here's the scrap for the lead of JS2R. Julien Le Mans in the dark blue and black ANS Motorsport car. David Rodrigo doing the chasing in the primer grey with the red and black detailing for LR Motorsport, car 43. It's not quite nose to tail. The gap officially is 0.7 of a second, but it's closer than that now, further around the lap. Rodrigo starting to turn the screw.
This is the battle for the lead. He's right with him, and still it looks to me as if the Pegasus racing car is struggling a little for grip here. George King has closed a more than 11-second gap in under 2 laps.
Yeah, and Yuki Tanaka is struggling in the halfway house conditions, not fully wet, not fully dry. It's not like Julien Schell, who was in the car as the conditions started to change and could work with them. All of a sudden, Yuki Tanaka is plunged into the race, where, if you excuse the pun, we're talking about water, he either sinks or swims. And round the outside now will go George King. Later on the break, surely as well than the driver in the number 16, although Tanaka is going to try and make it as hard as possible for George King, who is able to pick off the race leader in the Pegasus racing car. That's what it means to Team Virage, and the Brit now leads the race.
Heads-up stuff. Other than putting himself in a risky position in the braking zone, heads-up stuff, because he knew he had the quicker car, felt he had the advantage, and with the that combination of turns completed, was in the right position to complete the lap on the right line. That's what he started. He started that thought process halfway down the main straight.
Yeah, And
great stuff.
Then you need to have worked out, probably on the track walk, how wide you can go to allow the car on your inside. Still some space, and there was plenty of racing room for Yuki Tanaka. The Japanese almost held George King back on the exit of turn 16, but couldn't quite get the traction or lay down the power of the car. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit, which pitched the tail out briefly, and that's easy to do in these greasy conditions now. LR Motorsport have just been overtaken. That's the 7 car of Jacopo Mazza. The 7 car did not feature in qualifying 1 because of a technical issue, which they managed to iron out in time for Q2. But Minea Stefan, after that earlier drive-through penalty for abusing track limits, is now back up to 5th position for Team Virage.
16 car, was that trouble? Is that trouble for the 16 car? It seemed to be just struggling at the point that we picked it up. Yellow flag at turn 9. I think that might have had a bit of a spin.
The lights flashing on the back of the car will be rain lights rather than a limiter that has been accidentally
I think
clicked.
He's been off the track.
No other cars, interestingly, though, I don't think have those flashing rear lights. I'll need to see the rear of a JS P4.
I think you're going to see this car turn around.
You must have seen that replay before, Graham.
No, it was the body language of the car. We didn't catch that shot to start with. We saw the car just struggling out from about this point in our shots. He was not up fully to speed. And as we see the sector time, he's lost 11 seconds there. And that's going to put him in risk of losing that 2nd place.
Well, my point about touching white lines and curbs in these rainy conditions rather amplified there, because all it was a rear right wheel of the Pegasus car over the white line, no grip, and it pitched the car into a spin. And as you say, very costly error indeed. Yuki Tanaka still in 2nd place, but only just over Panagiotis Kaitatsis and the HP Racing by Monza Garage car. 1.6 seconds now the distance between he and the Japanese racer for Pegasus.
But really good news for race leader George King, because what was just 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, has now become 12, 13 seconds. And in tricky conditions can adopt a more conservative approach to the remainder of this race. 17 minutes to go.
There is Kaitatsis in the... is that the 04? No, that's the 11, I beg your pardon.
That's
so similar paint job, but that is for Chu Ting Chu, who has taken over the number 11 Monza Garage car from Wei Yu Wang, 2 Taiwanese drivers. So Xu now, also a silver, similar to Wang, so they will have had to spend longer in the pits because of their chosen driver combination. George King now leads by 13 and a bit seconds.
Yeah, he's going away here, and he's by far the quickest driver on track right now. A chance to look at George, a chance to catch up with him. Just a quick chat about this season and ambitions for the future. Some interesting options ahead for him, I feel.
Julien Lemoine, David Rodrigo, not separated by much at all. It's sort of fluctuating. At certain places the 42 car gains, in others the Italian doing the chasing slightly better. And I think the differential between both of the cars and their lap times is rather increased because of the slippery conditions, unpredictable conditions that we have at the moment, meaning that each lap is not quite the same as the previous one. And it means that Rodrigo at times is able to get very close indeed to the race leader in JS2 R. But now there's some traffic separating those 2 cars. And will that mean that Julien Lemoine now has the race to give away in the final 15 minutes or so? Over the line goes the Pegasus Racing duo, and in between them, the HP Racing by Monza Garage car of Panagiotis Kaitatsis.
Absolutely, those 3 separated by about a second. If anything, it looks to me like the Greek driver looking to get his way back by the number 16 car for 2nd position, as George King powers off into the distance. King, by the way, a couple of seconds off the fastest lap time at the moment in what, clearly there's some damp conditions at parts of this circuit. Everybody else about 4-5 seconds off.
Yeah.
So great pace from the leader at the moment. We won't see much of that while we've got a battle like this underway. 3 cars, soon to be 4. Because Minea Stefan is closing on this group rapidly.
Going for a move on Yuki Tanaka is Panagiotis Kaitatsis and gets it done just before the corkscrew, as long as he can keep the car on the track. Farid Ali is a lap down, as we know, and that is now a problem for Chuting Chu in the Monza Garage sister car. So whilst the 0-4 gains a position, it's looking like the 11 may struggle to finish the race, as now the two Pegasus racing cars are getting together. Helpfully, the flashing rear lights differentiating between those two cars from the rear, and the 17 without those rain lights is now ahead of Yuki Tanaka and into third position.
There's Stefan right there now with the 16 as well. I don't think it's going to be long before we see the 48 car make a move to try to get by Yuki Tanaka. Might be right now, and is. Neat and tidy. Also catching, by the way, the number 7 car, the LR Motorsport car. So Tanaka is going backwards at pace here.
That was Anthony Nara, by the way, in the first of the Pegasus racing cars, getting up into third position. Minea Stefan following suit. And now Jacopo Mazza looking to the inside line of Yuki Tanaka to try and get through in the braking area for turn 16.
Car 11, advise us on Discord if you can rejoin.
Car 11 in dramas, as we know. Chuting Chu for Monza Garage is stuck close to turn 1, very close to turn 1 on the inside. It's not quite the racing line, but as you were describing earlier on with another stricken car, if you're behind someone else and you jink out for an overtake, you could slam right in the back of Chu's car. So race control do not want to leave that car there for too long. If it can get going within 30 odd seconds, then fair enough, but this is verging on being too long there.
Car 11, advise us on Discord if you can rejoin.
So this is race control making a decision as up the inside. It's a touch, and the 70 car goes around.
Spinner at T5.
And
so
that spinner is Anthony Nara. And Nara not really sure now whether to bang it into reverse or go forwards, but if he goes forwards he may end up in the gravel. And that was Minea Stefan, maybe a little impatient to get ahead of the 17 of Pegasus. 17
was already sideways before the hit. 17, I think, had gone too deep in, but there definitely was a touch.
And safety car deployed. Safety car deployed.
That was, I think, inevitable.
All because not of the incident that involved Anthony Nara and Minea Stefan, but because of the stopped car just before turn 1 for Chuting Chu in the Monza Garage car, and either Monza Garage gave information on Discord to say we can't restart, or race control just did not get a response. And either way, it is a safety car, which is not what George King wanted, because with 11.5 minutes still to go, he had a nearly 25-second lead. It's 22.5 or so. Obviously going to now open up because of the slower speeds as we enter the safety car period.
There is one piece of good news, and it's only one for George King, and that is that he has got a JS2 R behind him as a kind of rear gunner and a restart.
Yeah.
So he will have a little bit of breathing space, but it was actually 26 seconds across the line that he built up.
Yeah.
As everybody else seemed to be struggling with the conditions, he was dealing with it very well indeed, and he's not far off joining the safety car.
Looks like we've got slightly more sunshine now around the track, although the windscreen wiper's still in action for Jacopo Mazza in his third-placed LR Motorsport car. Everyone will be well aware now of Chuting Chu's car and where it is stuck on the inside of turn 1, but still much, much safer, and the right decision to temper the pace of the race so that his car can be recovered.
The slight problem is that the field is so spread out, it's going to take a while for all this safety car train to be complete, and they won't intervene with that car until it is.
Yeah.
So we've actually still got cars, well, spread behind the safety car at the moment at turn 7. The last car in the train will be the 29 car. That's at turn 14. So it needs to get a hurry up. There is the safety car. George King behind. Then you'll see the number 86 car. That car running third at the moment, Les Arabes, Bastien Ostien, with troubles for other cars in the order. But then behind that, it is all for position. The 4, the 7, the 48, the 16, the 50 and the 17. It's going to be quite the finish, Johnny.
I'm pleased to
trouble
say,
for 29.
Yeah,
again.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've mentioned that. Pleased to say that the light bar on the safety car is functioning well today. There were dramas with that yesterday during the Michelin Le Mans Cup. 29 moving again.
It deployed the rubber hammer, I think.
Yes. Make sure those contacts are nice and clean and now functioning. There's the sunshine breaking through the rain clouds. I didn't expect to be saying that on Saturday morning after all of the heat this week we've had.
That's what Simon Butler's been doing. There you go.
Organising the sunshine.
Yes.
With the big man. Perhaps so. So, yes, bathed in glorious early Spanish sunshine now.
If you can
main
rejoin.
straight.
Not a good day for drivers named Meyer. Max Meyer, by the way, has not rejoined with the issues for the race leading as they pitted. RLRM Sport car, we saw fluid leaking from the sills of that car. And then the 29 car that was involved in an incident very early in the race. And since then, Johnny seems to have had this recurring problem that's stopped twice on this lap. I think we might see this car heading towards pit lane.
David Rodrigo now in front in the JS2 Rs ahead of Julien Lemoine. They were having a really good fight, and that will continue on. I don't think there are cars between those two JS2R leaders, so that will the blue touch paper will be relit in a moment or two once we get going again. Bastien Ostien for Le Douce Arbre, his first action in the championship this year. He is the co-manager of JBR Management, by the way, with Jules Gounon, Bastien Ostien, if you know that establishment. And good to have him. They're in driver coaching, physical training, but great to have Bastien behind the wheel of a racing car this weekend.
The good news is the 29 car has made it back to pit lane. Good news for two reasons. One, good news for the 29 to see whether or not the car can be fixed. Two, is that was one of the reasons that this safety car period might have been further extended.
Yeah, true.
So my guess is we might be back to green flag running after this current lap. And that should give us, Johnny, about 5 minutes of green flag running.
5 minutes and a blast to the checkered flag for George King. Panagiotis Kaitatsis having got ahead of Yuki Tanaka before the safety car, and a couple of other cars managed to get in front of the Japanese as well. Jacopo Mazza for LR Motorsport running in third ahead of Minea Stefan. Haven't seen a message on the screen to say that the incident involving Minea Stefan's car and Anthony Nara is being looked at, but I'm sure that at some point has been under investigation.
I think if we saw that again, look at the Pegasus car as it comes in. I think he went in too deep because he could see the challenge was about to be made, but he was in the process of losing control, but then was hit.
Yeah, and the argument from Minea Stefan's point of view is, well, I only hit him because he was out of control already. Interesting, and that's not necessarily a conversation that can be had within the race. They may well look at that afterwards, where they can get both drivers' perspectives as well. The sunshine very evident now, something we have not had for the bulk of this race, and I would imagine most of the windscreen wipers have been able to be turned off now, as Jim Xu, or Chu-Ting Xu, whose car ground to a halt at the end of the main straight, unfortunately has to make that sorry walk back to the crew. Caught a sight of Jim Xu raring to go and to get on board the number 11 car prior to Ray Yu Wang bringing that car in, and it had been a good stint from Wang, in fact, for that opening half an hour or so. Sadly, they'll have to wait for the second race today, 2 o'clock this afternoon, for that to try and get a decent result here at Motorland Aragon.
Safety car in this lap.
So the safety car will take no further part, let's hope, in this race, and leave these cars to battle for the remaining 5 minutes or so. And George King will want to get the hurry on here. He does have that buffer zone of a JS2R between his Team Virage machine and the second place car in JS P4, who is Panagiotis Kaitatsis for HP Racing by Monza Garage. The white and red car sitting third on the road, but second in the overall standings.
The other advantage that George King has is that the cars behind the JS2R are all in contention for significant places. So they're not just going to have to be able to have eyes forward, is the point here. It's not just about attacking the leader, it's about defending their place as well. So green flag is going to be shown, George King will jet away, I'm sure, and indeed has gone already. And of course, they can't pass before the line. That's a big advantage for him.
Yeah, no need to back the field up. He just needed to get the pedal down as early as possible. Panagiotis has already cleared the JS2 R. And so has pretty much everybody else. It's almost 3 abreast into the first corner. Pegasus on the inside, Virage down the middle. That's Miner Stefan. And the 50 car also not too far away of Steve Zakia. There's a lock-up in the background as well, although all those cars got through. And Zakia can pick off Yuki Tanaka at the restart. So the 50 car around the outside of the number 16 of Pegasus, and Tanaka down another position.
Would question, I'm sure race control have got their eyes all over it, whether or not any of the chasing cars passed that 86 before the line.
Almost certainly they did, but they will say, "Oh, I saw green flags, let's get overtaking." But the rule is you've got to cross the, well, you've got to cross the start line.
Yeah.
Is the start line in a different position from the finish line? Normally it's in front of it if they are in different locations.
We'll keep an eye. Safety car procedures are under investigation. That's not unusual.
No.
But it is George King, and he has managed to take advantage at the start, the restart this race. 3.5 minutes to go from Panagiotis Kaitatsis, who's under pressure from Jacopo Mazza. They're the cars currently in the podium positions in JS P4. David Rodrigo, Julien Lenoir, and Bastien Ostien. 1, 2, 3.
Miner Stefan made a huge mistake at turn 12. He ran so far wide and off the track, and Steve Zakia now spots the opportunity. Zakia's going to...
no!
There's nearly contact. There is contact, and it spins Miner Stefan out, and he absolutely buries the right foot to try and get the car back on track. He's going to have no rear tyres left whatsoever. That was all started by running far too deep into turn 12 initially, the first left-hander of those 4 corners. It happened before this moment, but nevertheless then off the track for the second time, and then as he rejoined, some contact with Steve Zakia. I think Zakia was expecting that and actually rode the storm very well indeed in the 50.
That was uncontrolled at the end from Miner Stefan, who's had a great race to this point, but that was pretty poor, to be honest with you. Off the track twice, made the error. That catapulted him into another error, and at that point I think there was panic.
I can only agree with you. I think, unfortunately, it spiralled out of control. It's not quite red mist. It was just sheer desperation.
Absolutely, I think that's exactly right.
To try and get onto the track as quickly as possible.
Also off the track there, the number 16 car.
We haven't really seen this element of Miner Stefan before, because it's been an imperious run prior to this in all of the races. He's taken so many wins this year. Apart from Le Mans, I think he's been the only winner at Barcelona and also at the Castellet last month.
He's pushing hard still, though.
He is.
Takes position from Kevin Madsen. Goes back up into 6th position.
Testament to the durability of the Michelin tyres that these cars run, though, as well.
Absolutely.
Because he will have taken a great deal, a great huge chunk off both rears as he rejoined.
Gosh, it's topsy-turvy stuff here. George King, 5 seconds the good. No change behind him with Kaitatsis and Mazza second and third, and I don't think under pressure at the moment from the 50 car of Steve Zakia. Too far back with a minute to go. We've got incident out turn 6 at the moment somewhere,
which maybe involves Yuki Tanaka in the number 16 car, because it has not reached the end of sector 1 quite yet. The other Pegasus car, though, in the hands of Anthony Nara, going slightly better, although Nara under a huge amount of pressure now from Miner Stefan. Okay. And also not very far away is Kevin Madsen. It is Madsen now at the wheel of the number 1 car. There's Yuki Tanaka, who hasn't yet reached turn 7 and is stuck in the middle or at the start of sector 2, therefore, and yellow flags at turn 6 to protect Yuki Tanaka. As here is Anthony Nara, Miner Stefan. Kevin Madsen might be about to overtake his teammate in Team Virage, and the car a little further, just out of shot, is Ian Aguilera in the 75. But down the inside, here comes Miner Stefan. Can he get the car stopped in time for turn 16 to pick off Anthony Nara? Yes, much cleaner overtake that. And minus the contact. Here's the 0-4 of Panagiotis Kaitatsis, almost being overtaken by Jacopo Mazza. This is for 2nd and 3rd overall for the JS P4s. Fantastic race this. I suppose aided by the safety car. From a spectator point of view, it's great that we had the late safety car. Not so fun for George King, although he is opening up the gap again to nearly 5 seconds once more.
Final lap for George King. Comes through the yellow flag zone, but behind him it's all action. Action for the second and third place battle. Axon behind for the more minor placings, but they're being fiercely fought. And Stefan has made good his escape, and he will rue those couple of mistakes on the restart.
Ian Aguilera actually neatly positioned, possibly to pick off 2 cars in the closing stages, but he'll only have one go at it, I reckon, into turn 16. Oh, there's a spin for Jacopo Mazza.
That's the leader. That's the leader. What's happened to George King? That's the leading car.
So spin for Mazza. George King all of a sudden no power whatsoever and is really struggling with this. So there's the lead change for Panagiotis Kaitatsis, who gets ahead, but Jacopo Mazza had to get out of the throttle and lost the car. So he's going to lose a huge amount of ground as well. But George King, having got himself back into a 4.5 second lead, the car is now limping home.
What's happened here? Something's the number 7 car is going to beat themselves up about that one. Could have been a win.
Yeah, if he'd played that slightly better. Oh, there was a touch there as well between the 17 that's got no power either.
What's
coming out of the left-hander. Is this to do with...
Is it fuel? Is it fuel?
Be very surprised.
There's George King is stopping.
There are a lot of cars slowing down here on the final lap, so maybe it is that they've not been fueled. But we had safety car. We had a safety car for a long, long period of time. So fuel should not be an issue. Here's your race winner, Panagiotis Kaitatsis, in the number 04 HP Racing by Monza Garage car, joined by Kolovos Georgios, who did the first stint, and an unlikely winner, but every credit to the 2 Greek drivers and the Italian outfit who run them.
So George King, bitter goal there, and also in trouble. Whether or not that's to do with fuel or whether or not that's to do with the damage to the rear of the car, the 17 car in trouble as well, Anthony Nara. But Steve Zakia coming home second, Jacopo Mazza coming home third. Minea Stefan, after a topsy-turvy race, comes home fourth and just half a second off the podium. Ian Aguilera in 5th place, Kevin Madsen 6th. Well, there's going to be some stories to be told after that one. Also home, by the way, and for the win in JS2R, David Rodrigo, ahead of Julien Le Mans. So the LR Motorsport number 43 car takes the class win, 9th overall, ahead of the 42 car from A&S Motorsports. Jordan Meyer, by the way, did finish that race down in 4th, but the final place on the podium will be taken by the 86 Le Désirable car. Bastien Ostian finishing that race, Jacques Nicolet. And the 17 car isn't going to finish either.
Anthony Nara stopped on the circuit, shown as in 7th position, but he has to cross the line to be officially classified, and Nara has slowed down. He was already slow before he was then hit by one of the Team Virage cars. I think it was Kevin Madsen, was it not, in the number 1 car?
I think it was.
Again, surprised that Anthony Nara did not pick up the pace coming through the corkscrew, and it was a similar situation that delayed Jacopo Mazza, because again Mazza was expecting to see the cars in front pick up the speed, and it just didn't happen, so he had to get off the throttle, and consequently the car spun around. Here's the winner in JS2R, David Rodrigo, with a race-long battle with Julien Le Mans, and it's LR Motorsport with their 43 car victorious. David Rodrigo did all of the driving there, as did Julien Le Mans. He was up against, and Le Mans for A&S Motorsport will take 2nd place points. Bastien Ostian, new to the championship, in the number 86 car, joining Jacques Nicolet, finishing in 3rd position.
There is a post-race change, by the way. It's not for a podium position, but it does see the 48 car Minea Stefan drop back down the order by a couple of places for a drive-through penalty converted post-race. That will bring Ian Aguilera, the RLR number 75 car, up to 4th. Kevin Madsen inherits 5th. And with the retirements right at the end of the race, it means that the winning car in JS2R finishes in 7th overall.
I cannot understand that is fuel or lack of fuel towards the end of the race, because we had a 2 or 3 lap safety car intervention.
I completely agree.
Which obviously then does not burn anywhere near as much fuel as you would be at race pace. I didn't think this was a fuel-hungry track either, although there is that long straight worth, just over a kilometre, and you're on the loud pedal in quite a few other places as well, but there's lots of corners here too where you'll be on the brakes or at least feeding off the throttle. The drive-through penalty for car 48, Minea Stefan, obviously can't be served in the race, so that's going to be added to the race time.
That was the concept with Nara, wasn't
it?
So
puts it behind Kevin Madsen. Here's the official result, and it's Giorgio Kolovos Georgios and his teammate Panagiotis Kaitatsis, who take their first victory of the season. The two Greek drivers for HP Racing by Monza Garage win it by 3.7 seconds over Steve Zacchia and Louis Rossi, and Simone Riccitelli and Jacopo Mazza in third position, ahead of the RLR M Sport 75 of Haytham Caragiuli and Jan Aguilera. And then the two Team Virage cars, remember, Minea Stefan put behind Lance Fenton and Kevin Madsen post-race. JS2R is won by David Rodrigo in the 43 LR Motorsport car. He wins from ANS Motorsport's Julien Lemoine and Bastien Ostian sharing with Jacques Nicolet in the number 86 car. And there's a lot of post-race processing, I'm sure, for all of the drivers and many of the team members to work out precisely what happened in that race. If you enjoyed that bright and early on Saturday morning, we're going to be doing it all again effectively this afternoon from just before 2 o'clock. 5 to 2 will be our on-air time for another 60-minute race. That is George King stepping away.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the prize giving ceremony of the first race in this Aragon round of the 2023 Ligier European Series. These are the top three teams in both JS P4 and JS2 R classes. We start with the overall classification and the JS P4 classification, third place. Put your hands together, big applause for Al Motorsport, Simon Riccitelli, Jacopo Mazza. The second podium finish this season for Al Motorsport. Second place in this race in the JS P4 class for the team Le Desabres, Steve Zacchia, Louis Rossi. Third podium finish, best result this season, second place for the Le Desabres. And the winning team in this first race in the JS P4 class. Put your hands together, big applause for HP Racing by Monza Garage, Georgios Kolobos, Panagiotis Kaitatsis. The first podium of the season, the first race win for the HP Racing by Monza Garage in this 2023 Ligier European Series. And now let's welcome on the podium as well the winning team representative for Team HP Racing by Monza Garage. Team representative HP Racing by Monza Garage. And now, honoring the winning team, the national anthem of Italy. Big applause for HP Racing by Monza Garage, Le Desabres and Al Motorsport, the podium of this JS P4 class. Now time to present the trophies. Mr. Didier Wexler and Mr. Geoffroy Ferraro will present the trophies to the top three teams. And now time for the official photograph. This is the podium of the first race. HP Racing by Monza Garage, Le Desabres, Al Motorsport. And now time for celebration, time for the champagne spray. If you wish, of course, you have the second race to go. So it's up to you to do the champagne spray or not. Congratulations for the top three teams in the JS P4 standings. The first win of the season for the HP Racing by Monza Garage. Congratulations. And now the trophies for the winners in the Pro-Am and the Amateur classes. Let's welcome on the podium the winner in the Pro-Am class. Team Le Desabres, Steve Zacchia, Louis Rossi, winner in the Pro-Am class. Le Desabres, Steve Zacchia, Louis Rossi, winners in Pro-Am class. Congratulations to the members of the Le Desabres, Steve Zacchia, Louis Rossi, winners in the Pro-Am class. Congratulations. And of course, big applause for Le Desabres. Thank you guys. And now let's welcome on the podium the winners in the amateur class, in the AM class. Winners in this class, once again on top of the podium, the HP Racing by Monza Garage, Georgios Kolobos and Panagiotis Kaitatsis. The big applause for Georgios and Panagiotis, winners in the AM class in this JS P4 event. Congratulations, HP Racing by Monza Garage. Thank you guys, congratulations. The winners in the AM class, HP Racing by Monza Garage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the prize giving ceremony of the first race in this Aragon round of the 2023 Ligier European Series in the JS2 R class. These are the top 3 teams in the first race. JS2 R class, third place, Team Le Desabre, the drivers Jacques Nicolet, Bastien Ostian. Clinching their first podium finish of the season, Le Desabre, third place. Second place in the race, the Team ELMS Motorsport. Put your hands together to welcome the current leader of the championship, Michelin Le Mans. And race winner, clinching the second win of the season, racing for the LR Motorsport. Big applause for David Rodrigo. We also welcome on the podium the winning team representative, LR Motorsport, please. Winning team representative, congratulations to LR Motorsport. And now, honoring the winning team, the national anthem of Italy. The Italian anthem, big applause for LR Motorsport, big applause for ELMS Motorsport, second place, big applause for Le Desabre, third place. Now the official photograph. Please take your trophies and show your trophies to the cameras, to the cameraman. This is the official podium photograph of the first race here in Motorland Aragon of the JS2 R class in the Ligier European Series 2023. Congratulations, LR Motorsport, ELMS Motorsport, and Le Desabre, first, second, and third in this first race. Thank you, guys. The champagne spray is up to you, provided that you have the second race to come really soon. But, of course, to all of you, congratulations! The podium of the first race of the JS2 R class of this 2023 Ligier European Series. Thank you! And now, time to welcome on the podium the winner in the amateur class for Team LR Motorsport, winner in the AM class, David Rodrigo! Winner of the amateur class, David Rodrigo. Second trophy for today's race winner in this first class. Back on top of the podium, racing for LR Motorsport, David Rodrigo, winner of the amateur class. Congratulations! Congratulations to all top 3 teams in both classes. Let's see what happens in race 2 at 2 o'clock. The excitement, the emotions, back to the track in Motorland Aragon with the 2023 Ligier European Series. See you at the end of the second race.